Hey, good afternoon, all. Today we have Rehan for our cybersecurity visionary series. Welcome, Rehan. Welcome to this series.
Hey, Naveen, thank you for hosting. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So, Rehan, if you can briefly tell about your current role, your experience in security industry, that will be great.
Yeah, I'm currently the CEO for Securiti.ai. Our focus is primarily how to enable the use of data and AI safely. We do it in two ways. First, give you full understanding of the data and enable all security, privacy, governance controls on it. And the second important thing is how do we enable to combine this data with the right AI models to build your, AI agents and knowledge agents and all those things, but do it in a safe fashion, right? There are we do both sides of the equation. Previously, myself and the team that has helped build this thing, we were running the cloud security business at Symantec. So, and prior to that at Elastica and Bluecoat, and also some team has a very strong background in, similar domains before.
Got it. Thanks, Rehan. So, if you see, Rehan, right, last 2 years, I would say specifically, are like exploding with the Gen AI usage, Gen AI, how Gen AI is revolving around the world, or it's like exploding. Many companies going up and means mostly up because of this Gen AI revolution, right? Nvidia getting like becoming the biggest company, or a lot of things happening. And when this is all happening, so this is a lot of things going up and down. Like if you see 2 weeks back, DeepSeek came, trillions of dollars moving around here and there, right? So what do you think? Do you think this is the hype, what Gen AI is creating, like moving like trillions of dollars up and down, or this looks like a some short-lived thing that is just coming and maybe with course of time will just vanish? What are your thoughts on that?
I think there is just no question that this is the future. There's just zero doubt. I think we should have in our minds, this is the way that things will be. Anything that is, is information is going to be basically AI will be touching it, and AI will be enabling kind of a magic with it. The fundamentally, unstructured data, it has never been utilized the way the AI is utilizing, and most of world's information, a lot of world's information is sitting in a very unstructured form. So I think that's enabling total revolution is definitely not a flash in the pan.
Got it. And as we have seen, right, even though with the internet revolution coming into picture, security was just coming up with it and just following it wherever it went. And any revolutions came into industry, all were like followed up by security, right? That's what we need means. So what do you think means? What are the most significant threats that are coming with this adoption of Gen AI? What are your views on those?
I think one is when you look at organizations, if they want to utilize the AI models and AI systems, only way to do it is you have to give access to your data, right? One way or the other, you have to give access to your data. So the appetite within the enterprise is very high to actually, bring this thing into the ecosystem in almost all functions that they want to do. But now they actually have to now give access to data and then monitor it. So the data previously, you can think about cybersecurity was if I can secure the container properly, in which the data sits, could be an app, could be data systems, could be a cloud environment, could be anything. You felt safer because you've checked the configurations and you know misconfigurations are there. That game is just not the same here. Why? Because the data has to come out of those systems to be utilized. It has to go somewhere. Often these agents, they want to work across multiple apps, which means data has to come out of these data systems somehow, right? To be utilized, whether you have to convert to embeddings or you have to be analyzed by these models. And that is completely at the scale for unstructured data, it is completely new in that sense, which means you need to have clear visibility on what data is coming out, where is it going, what permissions it had, what permissions will be honored, on the other side when it gets consumed by after, frankly, somebody asks questions about that data. That is a whole new thing that as unleashed. So one thing most organizations, while they have a huge appetite and desire to bring, the AI into the enterprise. Yet not everyone is fully up to speed on like how to do it safely and securely and all. That's the biggest threat. Either you ignore it. If you ignore it, then it's very dangerous that your data is now going to all different models, and then it leakage across users are happening because you're utilizing it without check, and AI may be answering them in a way that the information that they were never entitled to be getting answers from, they actually start getting answers from, right? So that's one fundamental internal discipline, internal tooling, and internal guardrails, and internal monitoring and visibility to ensure that you're not creating like a self-inflicted wound inside the organization, and you're not also breaking compliance. So you actually have to also check if you're not breaking compliance that you're so pristinely many organizations try to keep it and preserve it. That's the one area that is the biggest thing. Now, in that situation, of course, many CISOs and many CDOs and data teams, they want to be enablers. They don't want to be Mr. No or Miss No. They want to find ways to actually enable it. But they need to actually understand how to enable it, what tooling to use, what kind of technologies are needed. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect is, of course, the threats, which are inbound threats, not just because you did something wrong. Inbound threat sophistication is through the roof. Is going to go through the roof, right? The kind of the threats will be coming in, which will pretty much look like it came from a normal person, or the sophistication in which, or the speed with which it will be generated, adapted to your environment and customized to every company. They're already we're seeing, is very, very sophisticated and dangerous. And then if you have things like, where the agents can now do the work even on your browser. So, and now if there is anything malicious happens inside it, or it gets taken over, then you have new kinds of adversarial attacks that are just very much possible. So I think these are, from both equations, you have to, security teams have a huge responsibility to step up, learn, and bring in the right tech and the right skill set to defend themselves.
Got it. So with your answer, right? So I see most of the things that we are focusing is more on the data side, and that's very much known, right? Because AI definitely deals with a lot of data, and that's why it gives data, takes data, a lot of data manipulations and all. So data security has been there for last, like this. I used to work for a startup which was acquired in 2008, Technics to McAfee. So long means 25 years, 30 years, like data has been like that, and data security has been like that, and then recently DSPM came into picture with DLP and all. So do you think the existing data security or DSPMs of the world or other products are enough for the new threats that the GenAI is bringing to the data part?
Yeah, I think it's a must-have, but it's not sufficient, right? So, and I'll explain why. So it's a must-have because if you don't fully understand where your unstructured data is and who has access to it, what models may be touching what data, it's just not even a starting point. You don't even have a baseline, right? So it's a must-have to actually have a DSPM for all organizations to actually have that, right? But it has to go beyond that because one thing to look at is OWASP top 10 for LLMs. If you look at OWASP top 10 for LLMs, it kind of explains that if somebody's building an AI system or utilizing it, the journey starts with access to data. When the data comes out of the system to be kind of looked at by a model, a lot of controls have to go into it. Like, is there anything sensitive going into that? The data is coming out of your underlying source data systems, whether you're using for training or tuning or actually inference purposes, right? And then within that data, if you bring any data for training, if there is model poisoning going on, and then of course, if you actually have the data being generated, can you trust that answer? And if there's anything sensitive going out, and when you generate an answer, like who should be able to get that answer, right? So entitlements, how do you know the entitlements are actually correct or not? And then because there's an interface is going to be where some human or machine is asking a natural language question, how do you know if it's a manipulation or is an attack. So I think, so DSPM is a must-have, right? But overall AI security, stack is needed in which you would want to actually have end-to-end visibility. Now, often people think if there's an LLM firewall, it is sufficient. It is like a total, I think it's a complete misunderstanding. Perimeter-based firewalls, LLM firewalls, or some people call it AI security or AI firewalls, they don't have the full context. Where did the data originate? Who had access to it? What controls were needed? Are they getting enforced on it? So you need way more than just the AI firewall or LLM firewall. It's an important piece for moderation and security, but that's not it. I think OS top 10 for LLMs does a great job. So net DSPM is a must-have, but you have to look at the entire stack of OS top 10 for LLMs.
Got it. So as you said, right, DSPM we need for like tagging the data or knowing who all have the access to the data. And then on top of it, you can have like integration with AI security, or you can build AI security on top of it. And that might be able to give you the whole coverage of security that a enterprise needs right now. So
or securing your own AI systems. That is not certainly the security from adversarial attacks that are generated by the generative AI by regular means. Like emails are much more sophisticated, right? Your other attacks are much more, your phishing is much more sophisticated. So those are like inbound attacks just because they're so much more potent. That's another topic.
Correct. Totally. So as you said, we need both. So what are the key challenges that you think that integrating this with the new older cybersecurity frameworks? We are not talking about the email side, but at least that other older data security solutions which are already there. What are the key challenges that you think are coming in as a hindrance in integrating the Gen AI security solutions?
Older data security solutions are not built for it. Older data security solutions, frankly, many companies just tossing them out. Reason is, first of all, it doesn't have the same level of efficacy that is needed, and the scale and the right, particularly if you go to multi-cloud and other places, right? The scale that's needed is totally different. And then what actions you want to take on top of it based on those things. If they're not reliable answers, you can take reliable actions. So generally what we've seen is like older tech is getting tossed out and new tech is kind of getting in, is particularly in multi-cloud, and that's like the DSPM thing. We're seeing that already. Very limited places where I've seen that somebody's trying to just stick with it and try to integrate with that. And of course, there are always going to be some curve in more forward-looking companies who are jumping on it and modernizing their stack. And of course, there are going to be some laggards who will not do it for quite some time. It's just normal absorption cycle and everything. That even on AI side, you'll see, while the appetite to use AI inside the enterprise side, there's absorption cycles. The pace of innovation that's happening on the model creation, reasoning models, and all the new things that you're seeing, it's insanely fast, but it's not getting absorbed in the organizations at the same pace, obviously, right? So I think that's similar to data security. I think modern data security is going to get in this absorption curve.
Got it. So, and even if it's Gen AI security, right? The security way of the wage of securing these things are also moving on. Like first we used to do like browser security or API security or proxy, a way of doing. But now with agentic AI coming into it, so that's a new thing. Like for last 2-3 months, we are hearing a lot of things about agentic AI. Agentic AI folks are like developing a lot of solutions in agentic AI. So. And this is like a moving landscape. We don't know. Means it's like Gen AI, like so much fast evolving. You try to focus on one product, one problem, and then this new thing comes, and then you run. So what are your views on moving this, and which will be the future? Will the agentic AI will come into one, or means what are your thoughts into this fast moving area? Maybe it's something else will come after agentic AI. Who knows in this Gen AI space, right? So what are your thoughts on this fast moving space?
No, I think, and it's happening for a good reason, right? So, and the agentic AI, of course, is kind of unleashes the action taking capability, or stitching multiple things that you may want to do on top of your utilizing the power of LLMs, and especially the reasoning capabilities of these LLMs, to basically break apart into small actions and then do something of bigger meaning often across multiple systems, right? So that's also very real, because that's where I will say rubber hits the road, is that it brings the operational efficiency for the people who are doing the work inside the organization. It brings the operational efficiency to actually become a true assistant, because he's going to do the things for you, even if it's for knowledge collection and aggregation and analysis, to actually taking actions with a human in the loop, of course, in both cases. So that's also very real. And I would think that, frankly, that's also, if you're asking a question, is not a hype. It's going to become more and more sophisticated, more and more automated. And that's the journey we're on. And if somebody is not able to keep up, I think no question, those organizations are going to be left behind. Whether they are tech companies, whether they are actually everyone is a tech company, but companies providing the technology, or companies utilizing the technology to serve their customers, both need to adopt this tech, but in a safe manner.
Got it. So what are your thoughts on how this agentic AI security needs to be focused on, or how it should be attacked from a CEO of a security company? What are your thoughts? What security vendors should be doing to make it safely enable use of agentic AI?
I think, see, agent is, if you really think about it, it's a bunch of software on the back end getting created. Right? Some you create and some it generates on the back end to take certain actions. So underlying stack is not dramatically like, yes, this layer above is magical, but under the stack is the same. You have APIs and you have access to data and you have entitlements and you have to still do compliance. So of course, here, the biggest thing I'll come back to it is that it's about the access, it's about the data, it's about permissioning, it's about the making sure that you actually have compliance going on, the governance on it. If you go to core principles, they have not changed, right? What you're able to do with this software to create new software, but the underlying guardrails, they have not changed. The framework that I really like, and I think is the OWASP top 10 for LLMs, you can apply that, of course, to agentic AI. They equally apply to agentic AI. So if you are in that business of helping to secure others, I mean, that's really the framework.
Got it. So what strategies do you recommend for organizations to stay ahead of these adversarial AI attacks? As enterprises which are developing these AI solutions and exposing them to their customers, what they should do so that they can stay ahead of, because there will be like prompt injection attack, jailbreaking attack, all sort of attacks coming into picture, right? So what they should do apart from buying Gen AI security solutions, but apart from that, what culture they should bring to the company on in addition to that?
Well, I think they have to look at their stack very quickly again, because definitely culture can help, but this is not like a machine versus man. Man is going to lose, right? So you have to have machine versus machine. So if you're looking at email security, you want to make sure your vendor is able to cope up with this, like much more sophisticated kind of attack. If you want to be doing something against phishing, you want to now know exactly that it's going to be a lot more. It's already very sophisticated. If you are looking at account takeovers and others, they're a lot more sophisticated systems. If you're looking at call verification, previously, if you're trying to utilize somebody's voice, you can't utilize it anymore. So you have to look at all different avenues through which the attacks can come in, whether it's an email, whether it's a text, whether it is just somebody trying to do the account takeovers, through a variety of different things. Those sophistication level has gone higher. The legacy tech that has been sitting for a long time, and if those have not evolved to actually meet up with this challenge, organizations have tossed them out, to take them out, right? Bring the ones which actually have kept up or is new. So I think those refreshes or a deep look at those and refreshes are kind of needed. Now, some vendors may be able to keep up and some just would never be able to keep up because they're not investing that much in the forward-looking R&D to actually keep up with it. So definitely a big responsibility on CISO's teams to pay attention to it. Is your current vendor to keep up, or you have to bring somebody new?
Totally. So just a follow-up question on that. So when you are looking at CISO doing all this, what are the things that they need to look in a Gen AI security / data security vendor or the enterprise who is providing? What are the bullet points or what are the specific things they should look onto those vendors? Say there are like so many companies now providing these solutions, right, to secure Gen AI usage and all. So what are the things that you think that as a CISO or as a security head of the company would be looking into those vendors and saying that, okay, this is the vendor that is like kind of fits our need, whatever, like 90%, 95%, whatever. What are your views on that?
In general, what we're learning from large customers is that it's very difficult for them to buy now very point feature solutions, and then try to figure this thing out on their own. I think it's going to be platforms. Platforms in security for AI, you have to have security for data. You have to security for access. You have to security for AI models. You have to understand what AI models actually even exist. So platforms that are going to provide these as a more holistic are the ones that are going to really solve, holistically for the organizations. Because when you have a lot of point solutions and they're doing things on their own, there are equally big cracks and gaps in between those point solutions, which often exist. Now, I'm not suggesting sometimes point solutions are not needed. For certain specialized things, you do need them, and they could be really, really good, depending on what they do. But in this data and AI security, you really need a platform which you have full context, full visibility, not just of AI agent, not just of AI models, not just of data, not just unstructured data, not just of structured data, not just of permissioning. You need all of that, not just compliance. You need all of that in one place. Otherwise, you go figure this thing out yourself. That journey is just mired with failures, right? So I think platforms that will do data and AI and access and compliance and governance together are really going to help large organizations.
Good. So my last question, and when you are talking about platforms, right? Platforms means there needs to be a substantial amount of workforce that is required to develop a platform, right? So startups will not have that manpower or all the resources to just build a platform. Platform needs like much more than a smaller startup of like 20 people, 30 people. So as a startup like us, which is like focusing on Gen AI security with a people of like 20 engineers, what do you think that the core focus should be there? Because it takes time to build a platform. And I think companies like you or Palo Alto also shouting a lot of things about platforms, telling, okay, we should develop platforms. So those like Securiti AI or Palo Alto, those companies can have those platforms built up. But what are your suggestions for company startups like us, which are like having like a 20 engineers team? What should we do and to get a good traction in the industry?
Yeah. I think first thing is startups absolutely can build platforms. I mean, you can see all good startups eventually end up building a very, very valuable platform in which you have basically you're bringing a bunch of associated capabilities, and that becomes the differentiation, but also the moat around your competitive edge, right? So if you're doing any startup, you think about like how do you create the moat around you, and moat is not just because you're protecting yourself, you're offering value to customers because you're providing all the associated capabilities. Otherwise, they have to go stitch multiple things. Having said that, when you focused on like one or two things, which is great also, then you really want to be excelling, whatever you're doing, excelling in that like so amazingly that large organizations are forced to consider that as an option. So I think when you're really looking at like one particular thing, then you have to be like completely like outclass.
Super wow.
Yeah. So both have their merits, and some companies evolve to become a platform. Others kind of do these things so well that they get, and then at that point you then have to integrate. You have to do out-of-box integrations with a lot of other, industry leaders and whoever is associated with your offering. You have to pick your top 3, top 4, and try to integrate so you can attach very easily. That's a must-have, because it's one thing to build the product, it's other thing to how to deploy and get integrated and adopted. They're eventually in the enterprise stack. You have to fit into, a myriad of different things, and integrations become very important.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Rehan. Thanks for your time today and sharing those invaluable thoughts with us. Really appreciate you spending time with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Naveen. Appreciate it. It's great talking to you.
Same here.